We say to girls,
What is your podcast?
you can have ambition, but not too much.
Gonna be yapping and cackling away?
Naturally.
If I looked feminine, I would not be taken seriously.
I'm just a girl.
It's amazing how much you can get if you quietly, clearly, and authoritatively demand it.
I cannot believe you didn't notice that my hair is slightly straighter today.
You've DIY'd heatless curls?
I DIY'd it. Yeah, I have a cloth belt that goes to a dress, and I was like, I'm just going to put this on my head and then just wrap my hair around it.
Fascinating.
Put it ar-
Your hair looks fantastic. That's very exciting. Becca's hair is a little bit straighter today because she is DIYing heatless curls.
It's a journey. Let me
It's
tell
a
you.
journey. I don't think I have anything quite so exciting to update you on.
You didn't figure out a new DIY experiment?
Nothing that really should be talked about on the podcast. I do try a lot of things.
No, we have to talk about it.
No.
There's two things here that are off limits, so and I don't think either of them
Okay.
apply.
There are more than two things. I haven't mentioned them all because I think some of them go without saying. We can chat after, but yeah, I do try a lot of weird stuff. Nothing super exciting this week. The hair is a bit of a touchy issue for me. While I'm, of course, never going to compare myself to you and your flowing goddess locks, you do know I fried my hair
Yes.
about a year ago, and we've been in
Yes.
recovery for a year. The many phases of my fried hair and discolored hair over the last year, and that's truly been a journey. That's really all I have to contribute to the hair conversation.
I do remember on season 1, in part of our like pre-show stuff, you were like, does my hair look crazy? You'd been on this journey after a botched hair salon visit, which is so
Yeah.
frustrating.
This is why you don't cheat on your hairdresser. Cheating is bad, everyone. The worst kind of cheating is cheating on your hairdresser.
Not on your partner. That's totally fine in the grand scheme of things,
I'm just
apparently,
kidding.
but never on your.
The consequences of cheating on your hairstylist are extreme. Cheating on anybody is really bad. It's just the only kind of cheating I know how to do and am capable of is cheating on my hairdresser. It is what it is. But that's not what we're talking about today. Although it does tie in a little bit because today on Two Girls in the Market, we are going to talk about regrets.
Ooh.
Regrets in relationships, regrets in business, maybe letting
Regrets
go.
and hairstylist
moving up.
cheating.
In cheating on your hairdresser. Don't do it.
I had regrets this morning when I took my hair out, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? But it worked out. So maybe sometimes regrets work out. Is that what we're going to discover today?
Everyone, welcome to the pod. I'm Amber Haley. I'm coming to you from Big Island, Hawaii, and I got my friend over there in the PNW, Washington.
I already said my name, but I'll say it again. Rebecca Daniels.
So we're talking about regrets. I think everybody lives with or has things that they have done that they regret.
Yeah, I would agree.
Small ones and then big ones that are probably incredibly life-changing. The hair thing. No, just kidding. That's not a super life-changing one, but that is a regret of mine. So yeah, how do we deal with regrets? I think it's really important because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot because I realized where I'm at in life, regrets are something that really weigh me down.
Mm-hmm. I think it first started when you sent me, I think it was like a TikTok or a reel of this gal who's talking about relationship regret. And if you're dating somebody who is making you question if you should be with them. And she basically was like, if you're having all these doubts, you should go ahead and leave now because it's not going to get better. And you're going to regret the time that you spent in this relationship and regret all those wasted years. Yeah, you may already feel like you have a lot of time and emotions invested in because you may be 2, 3, 10 years into the relationship. But if it's not going anywhere, if it's moving backwards, it's better to end it sooner rather than later so that you're not adding on to that regret.
Yeah. I think people who have relationship regrets, or maybe they've made choices or done things in their life that have affected their relationships, maybe a choice to move somewhere else, to relocate, or take a certain job, or just different decisions that they've made that have affected their lives and their relationships in a really profound way. I do also wonder if there are a lot of people who truly, how everyone's no regrets. I regret nothing, like everything.
The
Like,
life without regrets.
yeah. And is there something to that? Do you feel like you had no regrets in your life? Do you feel like it's really feasible to have no regrets in your life?
I think it can be irresponsible to have no regrets in your life. I think you're choosing not to take personal responsibility for things. And I think it's one thing to not allow things to hold you back from having joy and having peace and moving forward with your life. I think there's certain things in our life that we're supposed to learn from. And I think there are certain regrets that we should be learning from because regret is painful. That's a painful moment in your life. And you probably should pay attention to that so that you don't repeat those same things. While regret can be heavy and it can hold people back and bring people down, I think it can be a really good learning opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big regrets and small regrets.
I think some of the most common things that I hear people talk about regretting, and it's actually one of those things I love talking to people who are maybe even a little bit older than me, who have lived and experienced more life than I have, because I think we really learn to understand the things that we've regretted in our life because everything's so much clearer in hindsight. When you look back at things, when maybe you're in the moment, you don't really realize this might be something that you will regret someday. But I think a lot of people regret things in their relationships, things that they maybe never said to somebody, or they never had that discussion. They didn't maintain a meaningful connection, or they stayed in the wrong relationship for too long. And then I think also a lot of people can regret stuff to do with their career. Then there's definitely a lot of times you hear people talk about missed career opportunities or staying in the wrong job field for too long or not taking certain risks.
I think right now, with just how quickly everything is moving, it can feel like you're getting left behind at times. If you're not, I didn't jump on that trend fast enough. I regret that. I didn't jump on that new technology fast enough and now I missed the boat. Or I didn't jump into that new hot brokerage that is like going to change the industry fast enough. So I missed it. And you have these regrets. Or you can just look at it as maybe the timing wasn't right for that. It's never too late. You can either regret it and be like, man, I will never have that opportunity again. Or you can say, yeah, I may have missed it at the ground floor, but it doesn't mean that it's like impossible or too late to get into it now. I think it's never too late.
Yeah, I think there's different ways that we deal with regret. And I think a lot of what you're talking about right now is like reframing it, right? Oh, I missed this opportunity, but instead of seeing it as a failure, I'm going to recognize the lesson I learned from it. I am somebody that I will say, I feel like I live with a lot of regret in my life. And one of the biggest things I've had to learn how to do so that I can not feel so stuck by all the regret is accepting parts of my life and forgiving myself. That's like the other piece of that. Forgive myself because wherever I was at that point in life when I made that decision or did that thing that I regret, that's where I was at and I was doing the best I could. So those are the two things that I'm working on. But I wanted to talk about this because I just feel like it's something that dramatically impacts my life. And I'm just so curious how other people feel about their life choices and if that's something people reflect on as much as I do.
I know I reflect on my life choices a lot. Somebody asked me recently, it was on a date, so that's always like a fun time to talk about your life regrets. But he was like, if you could go back and change anything in your life, what would it be? And of course, the first things that pop to mind are like all the traumatic events that have had these really huge impacts on my life and like these pivotal moments that, yes, in some ways, if I could go back and I could change those moments and take away the pain of those moments and take away these incidents and the things that were done, I'd love to do that. However, I can look at those things and I look at where I am now and I know that I wouldn't be here living this life that I absolutely love, had those pivotal moments not happened. Don't really love the trauma of it, obviously. If I could take that away, I would. But I see the path. In the past, I talked about how I was supposed to marry that guy in Norway, right? Going and visiting this man in Norway, I fell in love with this country that was completely different from Florida. I fell in love with this granola girl lifestyle that was not a thing in Florida. It awakened this thing in me that I didn't know was there. That relationship ended. I almost quit real estate because of how emotionally devastated I was during that time, trying to maintain my contracts and maintain my client relationships and do everything when all I wanted to do was crawl into a hole and not exist. But that was impossible because my clients needed me and I couldn't just abandon them in the middle of their transaction. It made me want to quit real estate. I got past those closings and I went to a seminar and I was like, okay, maybe there's a different way to do real estate. I realized I need help. I need leverage. I need to change my business model. So that put me on this other path, which then led me to the opportunity of coming out to Washington. When I came here, that thing that had been awakened when I was in Norway was reawakened. And I was like, oh, I still really love that lifestyle that I was envisioning there. I still really like that. I still really want that. I have this other opportunity because I realized I needed to have a team with me. I was working as a completely single agent before, and I was like, I can't do this alone. I can't do it on my own. I need a team. But I'm like, I've never been on a team and I don't know how to run a team. So let me go learn how to run a team. So I had that opportunity to come out to Washington to be part of a team. And I was like, all right, let's take this leap. Let's move across the country. But I came out here, and this is where I feel like I've always meant to be because everything feels right out here. And the people that I've met, the lifestyle that I'm able to have, everything has clicked. But none of this would have happened had I not had this devastating had I not had that relationship and had it not ended.
Yeah.
And so while I could look back and I could say, oh, I regret ever meeting him, I regret being in that relationship, I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice by that because, yes, it was painful. I regret the pain. I wish I didn't have that pain. But it led me to where I am today. And I really love where I am today. The pain of that experience and the pain of all of my past experiences, all those past regretful moments, everything is a learning experience, and there can still be good that can come out of it, despite all the pain. It gets redeemed. So
Yeah.
I have regrets, obviously, but it is the reframing. I regret how much time I spend on TikTok every day because that doesn't, there's no gain from that.
I would argue that you did gain a little bit from your hours on TikTok. You probably learned some useful things.
I know all the Gen Z lingo. I'm so hip.
There we go. Silver linings. When I think about the things that I regret, there's major things in my life that I regret. And they're definitely the areas of my life where I carry the most trauma. And I think it might surprise people. The longest relationship I've ever been in was incredibly traumatic. And the timeline and how long it took me to leave that relationship is my life's biggest regret, as well as business decisions that I've made in real estate. And they're just very related. And it's ironic that it's the thing that I podcast about, real estate and relationship stuff. It's my life's greatest struggle and the place that I have the most work to do, and probably literally why we made this podcast.
It's therapy. This is us therapizing ourselves.
We are therapizing ourselves here. And the areas in life that I struggle the most are in relationships, not all relationships, specifically romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And with working in the real estate industry. Those are my two biggest struggles. I regret a way that I put together a business partnership that really set me back in my career, and I regret the years and what feels like very deep loss of a lot of things in my life from staying in an incredibly abusive relationship for a lot of my adult life. Because it's not only those years lost, but a lot of recovering from that in my real estate career and in my personal life. And so something that I've been working through is how to now let go by forgiving myself, by focusing on the good that's come out of it. If I'm being really honest, and this is, I think, a thought that keeps me stuck. If I could go back in time, I would. And that is a really hard thought for me to overcome. So I'm in this place where I'm trying to like move past these huge regrets, trying to be grateful for the lessons I've learned and try and live in the now. But I will tell you, there are some major positives that have come out. Let me know if you can relate to any of these.
Okay.
I've realized it's made me not really sweat the small stuff in life. And it's made me somebody who is even more bold than I was before and is capable of taking major risks, because I'm kind of like, what do I have to lose? I've lost everything in my life already.
Yeah.
What do I have to lose? Let's go for it. And when I've taken like little hits along the way, like we do in real estate, when a deal falls through and you're like, oh my gosh, you could sit and focus on how much money you're not going to see now from a commission. And I'm just,
My worst fears.
yeah, I've already lost all my money. I've already lost that. So it's like allowed me to be this really bold, brave person. I think it takes failure in life to create greatness and success. So I am grateful for that. Look, I'm already like feeling better talking about what I'm grateful for.
We're having those thoughts of pain. We should be focusing in instead on what we are grateful for, and focusing on the positive and focusing on the good, not staying stuck back in the past. We can't change the past.
We can't change
All
the
we can do,
past.
like all you can do is your control, change your circumstances to an extent. You can't control your circumstances, but you can control your reaction to them. I can't change what happened 10 years ago, but I can choose to not allow it to continue to impact me today in a negative way. I can choose to move forward.
Absolutely.
Position that am I where I was 10 years ago, health wise? No. Can I get there again? Yeah. But I have to take the steps to do that. I'm not just going to suddenly have the strength I had or lose weight so that I fit the same clothes that I wore 10 years ago and those goals.
Absolutely. I think what I've also gained out of having huge regrets is I've also been able to make the other relationships that I have, both in my real estate career and in my personal life and just with like friends and family too. I've been able to really strengthen those because it's really shown me like how important communication is and how much I don't want to go down such a wrong path in my life again, the way that I feel like I did in my past. And so part of that, I think, is just like being super open about my life with like my friends and my family and not like hiding things and just really like valuing those relationships, because relationships with other people and particularly with my family are something that I lost when I was like stuck in a very bad relationship and a very bad like business situation too.
Yeah.
So it's made me so grateful for that and really strengthen those relationships. I don't know if I'll ever get to a point where I don't have regrets, where I can say I'm glad this happened to me. I don't know if I'll ever get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I just need to accept and need to grieve certain things.
Yeah,
Have you ever had to
no.
grieve a regret or something?
Absolutely. Now, while you may be able to see good that has been able to come out of it, or despite a horrible thing, that doesn't mean that you have to be glad for the bad things that happened to us. That is not what we're saying here at all. Like, there's definitely things that I'm like, no, I will never be glad that certain things happened. I was able to have another separate good thing come out of it, but I will never be glad for the situation itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, with this relationship, no, I don't. I totally understand never being glad that it happened. There's certain regrets that should stay regrets, should stay like a negative thing in your life. And that's okay to have negative things. What's not okay is staying stuck in the
Yeah.
negativity.
Definitely not staying stuck in the negativity, which again is like where I struggle with sometimes, even
Yeah.
to this day, is feeling
Mhm.
stuck in the past or thinking too far into the future rather than just like being in what I can
In the moment.
life,
Mhm.
which is literally only happening in this moment, which we can't even really control.
You can control it to an extent, but you can't control other people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this one quote that I really like about regret. It says, regret is the one thing we can't do anything about. But what we can control is how we choose to act from today forward.
You can't control your circumstances, but you can control your reaction to them.
Other good things that have come out of relationship stuff is relationships are really like mirrors back to ourselves. Whatever our regret is, whether it's like not fighting for something that you wanted to, or fighting too much for something that you shouldn't have, or the things you said or the things you did, whatever it is, we can become much better people, much better people in every way, but especially for future relationships. As much as things like dating, such a struggle for me. There is something to be said about, oh, yeah, I regretted all this time I spent in a past relationship, but like how cool that I have so much ahead of me, like all these unwritten chapters and the best is yet to come. And look at all of these other both friendships and other relationships that have blossomed that I just would have never even gotten to experience.
Yeah.
I can now experience those as a better version of myself.
Yeah.
It's
I say send the text, send the DM, because then you don't regret it. Send the match. I know you don't like to initiate matches, dating apps, but what do you have to lose?
Yeah. I think probably most people regret the things that they didn't do, more things that they didn't do.
I would much rather share my true feelings and be transparent about things and have them reject that and know, okay, we're not a match. I would rather be true to who I am right from the get-go than pretend to be somebody else or not say something because I'm worried that they won't like me, about how they're going to respond. Doesn't mean like that you say things without tact. Like obviously be tactful in how you communicate with people.
Yeah.
If you don't like how I live my life, how I do things, then okay, that's fine. We're not a match then.
Yeah. And you're really good at that, Becca. It's like a very authentic way to live. And I think it's a really powerful way to live because you're not just living in like this realm of people pleasing, which really just holds you back as a person. I do also realize that in the real estate world and my business, that I had like the lessons that I did learn there are so massively important. For example, I realized I really need to have full like control of my business and be very careful about who I partner with and not adding at least the same value back into my life. And I'm going to be very honest and vulnerable here. I spent a lot of my career supporting other people's and building other people's careers and names because I really don't get huge personal life fulfillment from being the most successful person in the world. It's nice. It's nice to be successful. It's nice to have accolades, but it's really just not the thing that's going to fulfill me at the end of my life. And so I'm really happy to like play a supportive role. But that has become one of my life's biggest regrets is how much I have poured both like time, money, pouring into other people, building them up, cleaning up their messes rather than focusing on myself. And I thought that was the best way to love people and build a business and support it. And I learned very hard, very good lessons from that I will take with me for the rest of my life. It's always going to be very important for me to have financial freedom and control of my own destiny and my own career, and to make sure if I ever catch myself like pouring into something that's not adding value back into my life, to really recheck that and rethink that situation. And I'm really excited to
nice with your investments.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where I'll go in the future because of that. And I would have never, you just, honestly, I think I just wanted to trust other people. And it's not to say we got to live in a space where we can't trust other people.
But we can't rely on other people to fulfill us.
Yeah, not any one person will ever fulfill us, and people are human and they'll let us down. Just learn how to be a better businesswoman, both financially, both with how I run things. And that is something that's made me feel pretty powerful. That's like my takeaway and gratitude from making bad business mistakes, that I'm bold now and I'm very careful. And I will make sure that I always, in a non-selfish way, but in a very healthy way, take care of myself first, because that's how I can contribute the most to this world.
I hate that this had to come out of bad experiences, but I do love to see the boldness and the courage and the strength that's coming out of you. I think that's good. Now, you mentioned that having all of your own accolades, that doesn't fulfill you. That's not like your greatest life goal. What do you find fulfillment in?
I do like to live a pretty unique life. I don't know that's like the ultimate thing that fulfills me. I do also feel like I've gotten a lot of opportunity in my life to do very unique things. Like I've had my dream career. I accomplished that in my 20s already. So I feel like,
because you're a biologist.
I have a biology degree. I was a killer whale trainer. That's what I wanted to do from the time I was a little kid. And I did that. That's so cool. So I checked that off and I feel like I'm good. I did the thing I want to do. I also am fulfilled by running my own business. At the end of the day, I'm good. I'm good with that. So I think for me, like when I look back at the end of my life, what I value the most is probably the experiences I will have had and the people that I loved and who loved me back, like the love that I had in the world. That I think is what I value the most. And that probably goes more on like the relationship side of this podcast episode. That's also an area that I struggle in, but I think if I were to define success at the end of my life, it would be in love. Yeah. What do you feel like fulfills you the most?
I think it is very similar to what you said. It's more about the people interactions and living a life full of the ones I love who love me. And just having as much time and good quality time and good quality experiences with those people, knowing that I'm having a positive impact on others and showing them love in the best way possible. It's very much more so around that than like money, awards, or any of that stuff that it's not really lasting. And it's
very subjective. And also, I think it can be a slippery slope to have your greatest fulfillment come from that. And like I said, there are certainly things in my career that I regret. But at the end of the day, it's mostly just because it has made it harder for me now in my career to hit a base level where it's just not stressful. The regrets on the personal side do hit deeper, which makes sense. That's what's important to me. That's what I value. And that's where I'm going to take the biggest lessons from all of this and learn and grow the most.
We talked about a lot of heavy, big regrets. There's also the little regrets. That we can do something about every single day.
You regret the hours on TikTok.
I regret the hours on TikTok. I regret not going to bed at an early enough time that I like wake up with 8 hours of sleep so that then I can go to the gym and live a super healthy life. Those are the things that I think are the easiest things to address, and yet we don't address them. I don't know. I feel like it's so easy to look at the past and be like, oh, I have that big regret, but nothing I can do about it except for just look forward and try to be better. But like the little regrets of every single day. Oh, I regret how much time I spent on TikTok yesterday. Oh no, nothing I can do. I'll just keep scrolling TikTok today.
Yeah, we got to learn from those little regrets, maybe. Yeah. The little regrets in life are sometimes the funniest ones to look back on. I regret some things I've said on this podcast, for sure. If you want to know, just go back and listen to the entire first season. And you'll hear some things I regret that I said that will live forever. on the podcast apps. I regret outfits that
I've
I've
gotten
worn
in trouble.
in
I've
life.
gotten in trouble about some of the things we've said on the podcast.
I've regretted some like listings I've taken, and when I'm not listening to like my gut instinct on certain things or certain people or clients, I regret those things. Sometimes I regret like the amount of animals I've acquired. Some of the little regrets are funny, and they're a little bit easier to learn from because they're just like not so life changing and not so serious. But then I do because they add so much joy to my life.
They add so much joy to your life.
Yeah. What's like the funniest regret you have in your career and the funniest regret that you have in your dating life?
Oh gosh. Okay. Funniest regret I have in my career. I don't know that I have funny regrets.
Oh, you've got to have a funny dating one then.
Oh, I regret every headshot. I regret listening to really dumb advice at the beginning of my career. I regret. All right. So when I first started in real estate, I was at traditional brokerage, and the secretary, super sweet woman, but she doesn't know anything about marketing and stuff. And so she is helping me with creating my business card and like trying to figure out what website I should have and like how should I brand myself and all these things. And the direction given was not great. I did nothing with that website name. I don't even remember what it was. And I regret that being the start of my career. My branding was like, my personal branding was non-existent at the beginning of my career. And I look back and it's very laughable.
Oh, I love it. We need to pull up some of these regretful headshots. Maybe we'll post them to the Instagram account.
Oh, good luck.
I'm sure I have some regretful headshots for sure.
Just like any of those cringy, typical real estate moments. Oh, I know. I definitely did one of those posts. Buying or selling a house, you can call me.
So good.
Because that's what they say. Everyone do this post. No one's going to respond to that post and be like, hey, newbie, can you please come help me buy or sell a house?
Let me be your first
I
client.
thought that was it. Yeah. I thought that was the way. I was like, I'm going to get so many clients.
Yeah.
Did not work.
That's funny. I'm very similar. It's so relatable. And I'm sure any real estate agents that are listening can relate to all of these. I think one of the dating regrets I have that I can think that's pretty funny is when you matched with somebody on a dating app and then you got off the dating app or whatever. And then maybe the next year you downloaded it again and you rematched with them. Thinking like, oh,
It'll be different this time.
You're like, oh yeah.
It was not different.
Yeah, never mind. Like going back and recycling to the old dating recycle, that's a regret. It's like an instant regret. Like you just are in denial, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is why. Huge regrets. But you've reopened the can of worms. Anyone else here? I've matching with the same people.
Yes. So when I moved to Washington, let me tell you, the pool is small. I matched with him one year. We exchanged a couple messages and never went anywhere. And so then I deleted the app. Then the next year I was back on it again and we rematched, exchanged a few messages. Nothing ever came of it. I deleted the app. And then the third time, once again, matched with the same guy 3 times. And the third time, I'm like, all right, I know this guy. I know the way he is. He's non-communicative. And so I was just a little bit more obnoxious, which I don't regret that.
Of course not.
I called him out on it. And I don't remember what he said because he unmatched me. He didn't like it. He didn't like that I called him out. But I was like, hey, you're not very good at talking. He was like, it's just hard. And I'm like, why? It's just texting. I need you to do better.
We do, both you and I do require some pretty strong banter game. I feel like that's the quickest way that you and I think will rule somebody out. You got to keep up with the girls in the market.
Okay.
It's not easy.
You do have to keep up with the girls in the market. Not on the market. In the market.
In the market.
Since apparently I keep messing up our podcast name.
It is a gray area.
We're girls.
Girls
Things are
in the
happening.
market. We're not on the market, but we have been on the market, but we might be on the market. Oh, who's to say? But we're two
In
girls in
on-
the market, technically speaking.
Yes. Anyways, I went on a walk this weekend with a friend, and I was telling her about this date that I had gone on, and she looked at me like I was absolutely insane. She could not believe the things that I did or said to this man. And so this is one of the first dates I went on back when we started this whole experiment. And so I matched with him. And then 2 days later, we're going to the real estate conference in Texas. So I matched with him. I initiated this match. He had on his profile, he's picked the one that has to go, and it's 3 sports: basketball, hockey, and baseball. And me being the sports girly that I am, which I'm not a sports girly at all,
Not a sports
I said
girly.
baseball. I said because it's just too slow to watch.
Oh,
Picture
no.
on his profile. And I was like, you know what? This is my true feeling on baseball, is that it's really boring to watch. He's either going to think this is funny and cute and he'll still want to match with me, or this will disqualify me. And I'm okay with that. We match. It didn't disqualify me. Turns out baseball is his favorite sport, by the way.
Of course.
But he overlooked this. And so we exchanged 2 messages. And then I was like, by the way, I'm going out of town for a conference, so I'm probably not going to talk to you for a week. Just want to give you a heads up that I'm not ghosting you. And he's, oh, I'm going to be super offended. And so when I get back a week later, I message, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how offended are you? And he's like, a 10. And I was like, good. Because I like to max out my offense like I max out my bench press. And when I told my girlfriend this, she looked at me like I was insane. She's like, why would you say something like that to him? And I said, because I thought it was funny.
Do you regret saying it?
I don't regret saying it. Not one iota do I regret saying this. This was also at the same time that I'm messaging guys on Bumble who are annoying me because they do not have any conversational skills. And so I just started saying to all of them, how much can you bench?
Stop.
And
Please tell me we have screenshots.
Oh, absolutely. We
Great.
100%. And then it's, oh, now they're so happy to talk because we're talking about how much they can bench.
So funny.
Yes.
By the
Fine.
way,
this is not going anywhere.
to the men who are tuning in, we don't care how much you bench. So if we ever are bantering about it, we are scraping the bottom of the barrel. And really, we're just telling you, we're laughing at you, basically, on the other end of that Bumble convo.
Just be aware. We do not care.
That is so funny.
But anyway, back to this other date story of how I'm apparently very obnoxious with this man. And he thought it was funny. So it's fine. But we're chatting back and forth. And when we finally set up our first date, we're going to meet up for drinks. And at the same time that we are figuring out the time, I have another group chat going with some of my friends. And they're like, hey, we want to go see the 45th anniversary showing of Alien. Who's in? I was like, oh, I want to go.
Of Alien?
Of
That's
Alien.
hilarious. Okay.
I know.
Not
I
important.
never felt adventurous enough, which means that you're not adventurous, which is lame. I committed to you first, and we'll just meet for drinks instead and not worry about the movie. And he was like, oh, let's do both. I'm totally down for that. So we ended up going to dinner. And while at dinner, we ended up like skipping drinks. We just got food instead. Now, I always pre-look at the menu. Also, she told me, so I want to give you some of the commentary from my friend as I'm telling her this story. Oh my gosh, Rebecca, I can't believe that you're meeting with your friends on this first date with this man. He probably was going into this thinking that this is going to be a crazy first date story that he's going to go back and tell his friends about. You're basically telling him he's not important because you're wanting to hang out with your friends instead. And I was like,
I don't know if guys really tell each other super crazy date stories. Guys, what do you guys talk about? They're not out here podcasting about it. They're podcasting about
some of them
sports.
are, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Somebody send me some of those podcasts. I'd love some insight. But sorry, we digress.
We digress. So we go to the date. I had pre-looked at the menu because I always have to see, is there anything gluten-free on this menu? And I'd chosen the nachos because I was like, all right, I can gently take a little bite here, a little bite there, and still have a conversation going. I don't have to worry about getting food all over my hands or my face from a burger or whatever. And so I ordered the nachos and we're out of nachos. I'm like, oh, crap. Then I ordered the buffalo wings.
Oh, buffalo wings on a date are something you should regret.
Yeah, I got buffalo sauce and ghost pepper sauce. Spicy
White
sauces.
shirt, probably too. Let's just
think
pretend
so.
it was. In my head, you were wearing just all white. We got buffalo sauce. We got it. It's everywhere. That's a great regret. But also the silver lining of a regret like that could be you should really see what they're made of. Can we make light of this situation together?
Yeah.
Because sometimes in life, you're going to run into something messy. Do we have senses of humor?
Can we get through the fact that I'm going to have sauce all over my hands for this entire first date? Because once I get started, we cannot stop.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to keep going. So we're just spice all over. I'm like, I could not. I was so embarrassed and laughing at me.
Is he also eating the wings or just watching you eat
No,
wings?
he's watching
Thank
me
you.
go.
Okay.
It was way less messy. And so then I realized, oh crap, we have 10 minutes before we have to go to this movie. And I still have 4 or 5 wings left of the ghost pepper.
During the
So
math here.
I have to inhale these wings because waste not, want not, leaving
course.
food. And so I run to the bathroom to see what the damage is. I get in there. My mouth is so red from all the
Bekah.
spot. Like, I look insane. I
Stop.
couldn't. I was like, this man has been looking at this the whole time.
That's amazing. And did we get a second date?
So when I came out, he's like, hey, do you want to ride to the movie theater together in the truck? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. More chance to talk. And at the end of the date, I really enjoyed tonight. I'd like to see you again. It was successful. So no regrets. And even if there was, I would not regret a single moment because that's just who I am.
You did it for the pod.
I did
You
it for
can't
the
regret the stories that we have collected. That's amazing. Yes, I think that's a very good lesson learned. No ghost pepper, buffalo wing vibes on dates. Maybe keep it to coffee.
Or maybe do.
You're right.
Maybe do. You're either going to eliminate them right away or give them a funny story. And either way, I think both are great options.
Oh, they're great options. I love this. All right, you guys, to wrap this up, dating is tricky.
But neither you can choose to live your best life.
Regret
No
is tricky.
regrets. Not a single letter.
Hashtag no regrets. No, regret is a powerful tool. It's teaching us a lot if we let it in. I hope our stories made you laugh a little bit today. I hope us opening up and being a little bit vulnerable made people feel a little less alone in the world, especially if you're somebody currently in the struggle bus of feeling bogged down by certain regrets in your life. I'm right there with you. Regrets are what help us connect more deeply with ourselves, with the world, with everything around us, from learning, with our relationships, in business, and all of that. So the goal isn't to live a life without regrets. That's my goal. It's not to live a life without regrets. That's impossible to do. But I want to live a life where the regrets that I have push me forward to a much better place.
I like it. And in order for you not to have any regrets in your life, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends. And until next time, make it a great day, guys.